Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I really appreciate you taking time out to go through this fix the phones dashboard. This will be somewhat familiar to many of you who have been to the workshops and sat in on a previous session that I did. There is additional information, so there'll be probably some significant review and repetition, and again, some additional information specifically as it applies to essential brand elements, the EBE for 2018. So again, we're doing the session today on interpreting the new Fix the Phones dashboard. I'm going to give some brief background on the dashboard itself, an overview of the new dashboard, some available resources, and there are plenty. An invite again to one-on-one dealer training sessions. I've been out to many dealers, so just let me know. I'd be happy to come out. I could also do it by WebEx. I've muted all your phones, and we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. In the meantime, please feel free to use the chat function, and we can communicate there. And I'll do my best, as I always do, to keep an eye on things. And this session is being recorded. So without further ado, let's get rocking and rolling. So this is some information from the workshops, etc. I kind of scaled it down and maybe modified it slightly. So probably most of you, or many of you, have graduated from the Fix the Phones workshop. The question is, what do we do now? Well, let's start by getting familiar with the phone analytics dashboard. First of all, you access it through that link right there, that hyperlink. If you need it, let me know. I've sent it to almost everybody, but it's readily available. And everybody should have their logins and passwords at this point. If you do not, please email me or call me later, and I'll be happy to get it to you. We've had one or two little hiccups where the original one didn't work, and we easily remedied that situation. So all that sort of minor administrivia is very easy to overcome. So let's get some brief background information first on, why is General Motors, specifically Chevrolet, devoting so much energy and so many resources into this very important endeavor. If we all look back to 2007, I remember it well. We were told the phone doesn't matter. We need to master the emails, and we all scramble to get that quick response time, the close rate up, etc. Well, the funny thing happened at that time. The iPhone came along over 10 years ago. And now in 2017, actually 2018, things are certainly different. We, as you know, we are now on our little handheld computers. We Google it up. We need, I always tell a story about, we were doing some work at my daughter's house. We were putting in some water lines. I needed a backhoe. It was a little deeper than we anticipated. We were trying to hand dig it in the middle of the summer. So I just, right there on my handphone, on my iPhone, clicked it, Googled it up. Backhoe operators in Dover, Delaware. I literally had a guy out there in 45 minutes. We made a deal right over the phone. I just clicked the first one I saw. I clicked the phone icon. I called him. He happened to be available. He swung by and dug us a quick hole. And that's not different than what people do. They just get, as you know, get on their handheld phone and make the calls right from there, which has put obviously more pressure, more prominence on our performance in responding to those customers by phone. On that note, so mobile shopping activity has increased phone calls to dealerships. According to research, 54% of auto searches happen on a mobile device. 90% of mobile users conducted a dealer-related action. There's a 4-to-1 ratio of phone call to email lead forms, and there were 32.1 million phone calls to dealerships last year, and that's a 12.3% increase year over year. So this is now, I've gone over this before individually, and we did a session before, and I think this is going to take on more prominence. So the big thing now is the call fail rate. And there are 4 ways that calls fail. And you'll, again, those that we've worked with who have looked at this, you'll actually see examples of these. You can listen to the phone calls. The first way that calls fail is the unanswered calls. Calls that were not answered by the destination phone number. They're very rare, but they happen. Just this past week, I was running around with my GM counterparts to a bunch of dealers, and pretty much everyone at some point had a couple of unanswered calls. Secondly, the IVR, that's the interactive voice response or voicemail abandoned. Caller reached the IVR or voicemail and hung up without leaving a message or speaking to an agent. The next type of failed call is a ring transfer abandoned. The call was answered, the caller was transferred by IVR, but the caller hung up prior to speaking to an agent. And the fourth type of failed call that you'll see is the hold time abandoned. Caller was put on hold by IVR or an agent, but hung up before the agent came back online. And again, I've been listening to an awful lot of calls, as many of you have, and it's pretty interesting. And it really, the thing that comes to my mind is to revisit our processes. How are we doing? What are the expectations for people within your dealership? So far, there hasn't been a problem that hasn't been fixable in any dealership we visited. So dealer performance, how are you doing? How are we doing? Year to date, this is from the sessions that we did, the workshops, but General Motors nationwide performance, 12% of calls to dealers failed at that point. The top performing dealers dropped about less than 1% of their calls. Worst performing dealers dropped over 73% of their calls. Pretty intense. So this is now part of the Essential Brand Elements, the EBE for 2018. Here's some background, general information about what standards are out there. Please check your EBE website for more specific information. And myself and your GM counterparts can certainly help out. So the failed call rate must be 10% or less per quarter. Your current failed call rate will be updated weekly on the EBE website. I don't know what day yet. I haven't seen it. We were in dealers as of Friday. I don't think it was showing yet, but it should start showing pretty soon. And by the way, this first quarter began on January 2nd. So here's the calls criteria for Essential Brand Elements. The only calls that will count will be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The hours will be from 9 a.m. to 5:59 p.m. If you're wondering why that unique 5:59, the way the dashboard is set up, when you select 9 a.m., that counts for calls from 9 a.m. to 9:59 a.m. and so on. So it was basically the intent was to go from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., but each hour that you click on it adds an additional 59 minutes. So the accountable hours are 9 a.m. to 5:59 p.m. The duration, only calls greater than 15 seconds will count. From what I understand, calls are also excluded on 6 holidays. I was on a webinar this morning, and they said as of this point, and we will certainly get the word out if it's any different, there are 6 holidays that will be excluded for accountability. New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, obviously July 4th, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day. So the phone analytics dashboard, let's get into that. Let's check it out. That's what it looks like right there. You've seen this, you probably got printouts. Unfortunately, that color is here to stay from what we understand. I think this vendor deals with several clients, and that color is what we're left with. I am colorblind, so at times I'm challenged to delineate what's going on out there. But anyway, this is the way it looks right here. A little quick background on the data source. Where is this coming from? And you probably all or most of you already know this, but it'll be about 15% of dealer calls will be tracked in dashboard. Call tracking numbers are GM sponsored, and the ring 2 numbers are established by you, the dealer. Okay, and I have a best practice. One of 6 best practices at the end I want to recommend that you get with your Pro Care advocate and verify and double, triple check those numbers. So here's how it works. The customer reaches the call tracking line. Call is forwarded to dealer designated ringtone number, and then the call is recorded and captured in the lost opportunities dashboard. So here's the dashboard itself again. So that is the metric that we're looking at. It's new terminology that we're all going to know and love. A failed call rate. Okay, in this case, it's 15%. Just kind of a generic look at how this thing goes. So let me just ease you through it. And again, I'm available to come by the dealership, or I can do WebExes and we can walk through this together. Whatever you select, if you look up here in the upper right hand corner, you can select dates. This one happened to be defaulted to October 1st to 31st. So this mountain range right here will lay that out by the day. I've been suggesting that everybody, again, another best practice, go back and just set it up for that last quarter of 2017, October 1st to December 31st, and see how you did. How was your most recent performance? We weren't changing anything. It was just the normal way you did business. And it's very interesting after we filter out some dealers are way off the mark and some are already hitting the mark. So that would be a good thing to do. But you can see daily, day by day, across the board what's happening. You can also see failed calls by days of the week. Very telling information. Almost every dealer we visit, they're curious, or they say, yeah, we know why Friday's a problem or why Monday's a problem, whatever the case is. You can see your problem days. And by the way, if you look at this, that line there with the dot, that is the rate or the percentage, and this solid color right there, that's the total count that you have. And it's pretty cool when you lay the cursor on there, it shows the number of calls. So there you go. You can kind of zoom in and see, what percentage they're hitting on these things and what's the total of calls that they're hitting along the way. You can look at it by hour. Again, very telling. Typically, we'll see lunch hour, maybe morning, maybe evening, shift changes, things like that. That's where problems are. And usually the solution is to just adjust scheduling and staffing. And of course, you can also take a look at your failed calls. When we look at your number, you're going to see that specifically. It'll give you the exact number of the failed calls you had by the category or the type. So filtering data. So you can go in, as I mentioned, and filter things out. I was on as I mentioned, a WebEx this morning. As of this time, you cannot lock your filters. So you have to reset the filters each time you go in. We've requested up the channel that they make it once a dealer has a mechanism with which they can lock the filter in. As of right now, we can do all the criteria except holidays. We cannot exclude that. So you just kind of have to estimate in that particular case. So again, you can filter by days of the week. You can filter by hour. The list goes on. There's a whole bunch of ways you can do it. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into that. So you look down at right-hand side, just a couple of random ones. You see days of the week, the type, days of the week, hours of the day. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll touch on duration in a minute. Agent keywords, caller keywords. You can even do it by departments. Pretty cool stuff. Here's what we've been doing in my travels. The EB filtering will look like this. So you go in and you'll filter days of the week. Right there, you can see to the right. You just click that on, and then you'll have an opportunity with the 7 available days to click on, and you must click on each individual day. If you click on Monday and Friday, that won't be consecutive. It'll only capture Monday and Friday. So it's critical that you capture each specific day. The same is true of hours of the day. So you click on 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., so on, right on through 5 p.m. And quite frankly, early on, I was assuming that if you clicked on 9 and clicked on 5, it would be 9 to 5. That's not the case. So you need to click on all 9 of those specific hours. And then finally, the duration, you'll have the opportunity to click on greater than 15 seconds. So this is what it'll look like. You'll see. So as I'm working with dealerships, we look up at the date. Again, we've been doing October 1st and then we go right on to 31 December. That gives us a good pick. And then right after that, typically we'll look at January 2nd to the current date just to get a sense of where we're at up to this point with the same filters. So you can verify that you've met all the EBE filters. Monday to Friday, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and greater than 15 seconds. Again, keep in mind that your calls will start at 9 a.m. and they'll end at 5:59 p.m. Once you do that, down at the bottom, you click update and your numbers will change. It takes just a moment or two to populate and your numbers will change. And now another thing you can do is look at your view and call log. And we've done a bunch of calls. We listened to a whole bunch of them. So right there, you can see the date, the time, where it came from. The list goes on. The time of it. It tells you the way the type of failed call that it was. It has call DNA, which is interesting. We've been watching that. You sit there as you listen to the call, you just watch that scale float across. It tells you if the caller's talking, if the agent's talking, if there's a ring, silence, etc., etc. List goes on. Getting a few messages there. Okay, so some best practices, things that you can do right now to consider. I don't see any chat questions, so again, we're going to open it up to questions toward the end, and please don't be shy. But in the meantime, don't hesitate to hit it on the chat function. Okay, so just stuff that I've been thinking about as I'm traveling around. First thing is view your failed call rate for Q4 2017 with the EBE filters to get a sense of your recent performance. Again, you go up to the top right, you click on October 1st to December 31st, go Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Naturally, that'll be 5:59, and then hit that greater than 15 seconds, and just see what your numbers look like. Granted, you probably, especially in that quarter, there's Thanksgiving's in there, Christmas, obviously. So, if like we were in a dealer just the other day, I think it was the last one we did last week, they were at like 8% on that last quarter already without tweaking any processes. So that's great news, and that includes a couple of holidays. So that's a great first best practice. Just get a sense of where you're at. I would then follow up out of curiosity, what do you look like from 2 January till the current day? Secondly, I'd encourage you to designate a primary person and an alternate person responsible for fix the phones. That'll help me. We're all on board. Your district sales managers, district service managers, all on board. Your pro care advocate to help out. I'm there too. I guess I'm going to be a primary guy as far as coordinating you, making sure you're properly trained, getting you to the right resources, etc. It would be great to know that I have an expert or two in each dealership that we can have these conversations. Third, then set up training sessions for both the primary and the alternate. And I'm going to show you resources in a minute. Many of you have seen these before, but there's no shortage of resources. And additionally, I'd be happy to come out. I guess I'm learning with you right now, but we'll figure it out together. I'm getting smarter at it every day. But just this past week, we've had questions come up, didn't know the answers. We all explored and figured out what was going on. So you have plenty of training resources, plenty of support. I'd also, the fourth best practice, I'd contact your pro care advocate and verify your designated phone numbers. If you have any doubt about it, it's probably not a bad idea to do anyway. Just check those out, and then I would check out how they're mapped through the dealership. So that's a good baseline thing to do right away. And then Google yourself. I'm sorry, there's 5 best practices. I think I said 6. Google yourself. List all the related phone numbers you find and mystery shop yourself. I've done this with several dealers. Again, last week we were making a bunch of calls. Very interesting stuff that's happened. It's been pretty circular in some cases. People were surprised that certain numbers were there. I'm trying to think. There was one dealer. I think the customer would get to 3 or 4 recordings before a human being ever picked up. There was some geographically separate situations, body shops, things of that nature. Some had competing manufacturers in their line and so on, and the phones are all intertwined. So that's definitely something to explore and take a look at this point. So let's look at the resources that I mentioned that are very much available to you. And Center of Learning is an introduction to phone analytics, lost opportunities dashboard. And there's the number of that. You go to fixthephones.com. It's all kind of webinars, free phone skills training. The list goes on, free best practices, etc. Plenty of resources. Probably overwhelming. You just need to narrow it down and pick and choose. There's the BDC support site. Many of you, or most of you, hopefully know about this. I've been trying to promote this as much as possible whenever I'm communicating with dealerships. This is in GM Global Connect. You go into the apps section and you'll see the BDC support site. And as you can see, there's a user guide and recorded WebEx of dealer training. And the dealer support digital marketing package, phone analytics dashboard, there's training and support there. And just so you know the roles and responsibilities, you have several professionals to back you up. Let's go left to right. ProCare Advocate. First of all, make sure you know who your ProCare Advocate is. The number provisioning, changing answer by numbers, troubleshooting, tracking numbers, and then resetting passwords, creating new IDs, etc. I see that Ms. Bernadette Jasmine is one of the GM managers, GM sales managers. We were at a dealership last week. They had a person left the dealership. They had originally gotten the login and password. It wasn't working, the one they had. We got on the phone. We called the ProCare Advocate. We had that thing resolved in about 6 minutes. In fact, they added a second number. The dealer operator wanted a second number, so we got that done. Your digital district manager, data questions, understanding the data, call volumes, call trends, classification, and discrepancies. They can help you out with that. And then again, your business development manager and the field team, I would ask you to come to me first if you could. I mean, if one of your district sales managers is right there with you and you have a question on the spot, they obviously will help you out. But if you're reaching out by phone or email, certainly copy them. But try me first. Let me see what I can do to work things out. And then we'll go to them as our next line of defense. But we're there, again, for the data questions, very similar to the digital district manager, try to help you understand the data, call volumes, trends, etc. And really the data assessment and root cause analysis. That's where we can help out. And we've already begun the work. There's several dealers are either inventing, creating new processes or tweaking their existing processes as we speak, because some of these problems, the causes were crystal clear why they're having problems. So again, we're there. You got plenty of support out there. And the GM package guide, don't forget about that too. You go into that www.gmpackageguide.com, and again, plenty of resources in there. I'm also continuing to offer one-on-one training. Do you wonder how many calls you're missing after hours or how many calls go unanswered during business hours? I'm offering it. I'm finding it takes about 30 to 45 minutes. And I say virtual, I can do it by just like this over the WebEx. If I'm in your dealership, naturally we can do that. And I'll work one-on-one with you on how to use this new dashboard. Just call me. It's all you got to do. By the way, I'm going to state the obvious. I realize everybody's going to be focused on, successfully achieving that 10% or less call failed rate for EBE. But I want to also talk about your weekends, et cetera. It's an interesting scenario to first take a look at that narrowed time frame, but we should also follow up, which we have done in each dealership. Let's open it up and look across the board 7 days a week and what is happening on those other days. Because the bottom line is, and I will tell you, a bunch of calls this week, we thought that person hung up and they are going to the other Chevy store or they're going down the street to Jiffy Lube to get what they want because they had an opportunity to spend money at that particular store, and you can tell they're going to move on to another one. Okay, it's time for questions. I hope that wasn't too fast. I don't want to drag it out. I know everybody's busy, but I want to make sure that we all get the point. If you're not excited about speaking over the WebEx, just type your message into chat. But if you want to ask a question, just hit #6 to unmute your phone. So I'll open up the floor. Everybody's good, it looks like, huh? No questiones? Chad's left. Anyone? Okay, again, if you are having login password problems, give me a call. I got one visit I've got to do, but it's brief. But give me a buzz or email me, and I can set that up, or give me a call. We can work it out. And that, again, remember, this has started effective January 2nd. I'll open it up one more time. Anybody else calls? Pardon me, questions? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. How about those Eagles, Clay Wessel? How about that? Thanks, Bill. I'll let everybody get back to work. And if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, God bless you. I feel your pain, brothers and sisters. Have a great day and a great rest of the week. And I'm here if I can help out. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Audrey. Take care.